And then I explained it.
Okay. All right, we have like 20 minutes. We'll start the subject. I know you guys are tired, so it'll be mostly just chatting with each other. Okay. We're moving on to fat characterization. So let's see what you remember from your previous knowledge. Peroxides, right? What are they? Peroxide value is a measure used to detect advanced stages of lipid oxidation. Measuring of hexanal gives an indication of advanced stage of oxidation. Iodine value can be used to detect oxidation. Maybe the third one you might not guess at. But these two, from what you know in lipid oxidation, what would be primary oxidation products versus advanced stages oxidation products? From that, if you just look at A and B, are these both correct? One of them is correct. Have you covered lipids in food chem yet? Did you talk about primary oxidation products? What are they? What are the primary oxidation products? Somewhere on this slide. First product of oxidation, what are they? Peroxides are first products of oxidation. Peroxides. So peroxide value is a measure of peroxides, which are primary oxidation products. So A is not correct. Hexanal is an advanced stage of oxidation. It's secondary. It's due to the continuation of the oxidation. So primary oxidation product convert to secondary and tertiary oxidation product, and hexanal is one of the later stages of oxidation product. So B is correct. Iodine value will learn that it is a measure of the degree of unsaturation. So the higher the value, the more double bonds there are in your lipids. And upon oxidation attacks double bonds. So upon oxidation, you lose double bonds. So iodine value decreases. If the oil is oxidized, your iodine value will be less than a fresh oil. So iodine value can be used to detect oxidation. It can be an indication of oxidation if we know the initial oxidation value. If we know the initial iodine value. So in this, B and C are correct. Okay? All right, so this is definitely, I don't expect you to know. We'll learn about simplification value. It is not a measure of fatty acid saturation. Iodine value is a measure of degree of unsaturation versus saturation. So saponification value is a different characteristic we use for different measure. Okay, so it is false. All right, let's think about fatty acid characterization. So why is it important? When we say fatty acid characterization, what do we mean? What characteristics are we looking at? We're not looking at total fat. We're looking at other than total fat. Can you think of other characteristics? We listed a couple, huh?
The specific types of saturation.
The specific types. So on the nutrition label, what do you see other than total fat? Yes. Yeah, we have trans, fatty acid, polyunsaturated, saturated, and one more thing. Laura? Cholesterol. Okay, so what other than nutrition label? Okay, so we looked at different components that are important for the nutrition label. What about it briefly in the first question. What characteristic and oxidation? Yes. Stability of the oil, stability of the fat, whether it is oxidation or hydrolytic rancidity. So there's oxidative rancidity where we measure primary products, peroxides, and secondary metabolites. Or when we measure free fatty acids as an indication of hydrolytic rancidity. Okay, so rancidity, what else? What else is important?
For baby formulas, you need specific fatty acids present.
So fatty acid composition, it's part of fat characterization. What are the different fatty acids that we have? Do we have essential fatty acid, linoleic, linolenic? What do we have in terms of composition? There are a couple others. Let me just show you what I have up there. We'll talk about each one of them. We talked about nutrition label having the saturated fat and the trans fat. How do we get trans fat usually? Yes, Brigitte? Incomplete hydrogenation. So when you're hydrogenating the oil, and sometimes your cis configuration can be converted to trans configuration, and that is a processing effect of hydrogenation. Okay, so we talked about nutrition labeling, shelf life stability, hydrolytic oxidative rancidity, processing effect. I'll talk about that in a more elaborate manner. Palatability and sensory effects. So what's the mouth feel of the fat? So this has to do, for example, total solid fat index, for example. When you put it in your mouth, does it melt so fast? So margarine, for example, vegetable butter versus regular butter. So mouthfeel, spreadability, safety. Sometimes secondary oxidation products are not safe. Or trans fat, which is not the secondary oxidation product, it just happens due to hydrogenation. It has impact on building the low density LDL, low density lipoproteins, and then generation of potential heart diseases. Whereas other metabolites, such as the oxidation metabolites, such as oxidized cholesterol or malonylaldehyde. Malonylaldehyde is a secondary oxidation product. It can cause, it's mutagenic. And oxidized cholesterol can also cause cardiovascular types of diseases. So we talked about nutrition labeling, saturated versus unsaturated, trans fat, cholesterol. These are all components that we need to quantitate in order to put on the nutrition label. We talked about oxidative rancidity versus hydrolytic rancidity. Hydrolytic rancidity can occur two ways. One, if you have lipase naturally in your sample, and during storage, the lipase can chop off your triglycerides and produce fatty acids. Fatty acid can be bitter and sour. So that could lead to hydrolytic rancidity. Frying of the oil. So, not frying though, frying in deep oil, deep frying in oil. Okay, so let's say you have potatoes, you're deep frying your potatoes. Potatoes have high moisture content. So what happens there, you have moisture, you have heat, and you have your triglycerides. So moisture and heat can result in hydrolytic rancidity, causing the breakage of the triglyceride bonds, releasing free fatty acid. So then that can also cause hydrolytic rancidity without the enzyme. Sometimes we have food ingredients that simulate lipids but have no biological value like cholesterol. You have 8 fatty acids associated with sucrose. They're not digestible, so they give you the feel of the fat, the mouthfeel and the taste, but they don't give you calories, so we need to differentiate them, characterize them. And also, you have the short and medium chain triglycerides, where the fatty acids are short. They do not contribute to 9 calories per gram. So we need to know how much of those we have in our fat or our ingredients. So, talked about safety and mouthfeel, but I want to spend a little bit more time on processing. We talked about production of trans fat due to incomplete hydrogenation. Deep frying, we also talked about that. It can cause hydrolytic rancidity in the presence of fatty acids. They can be, if they're polyunsaturated in the presence of oxygen, they can also result in oxidative rancidity. So free fatty acids usually are more prone to oxidation than esterified fatty acids. So if we have hydrolytic rancidity, it can very well lead to oxidative rancidity, given the fact that free fatty acids are prone to be oxidized faster than if they are in the triglycerides. And the more polyunsaturation you have, the more prone to oxidation your fat is. Okay? So the more saturated is the fat, the less prone it is for oxidation, because oxidation attacks double bonds. Okay. Hydrogenation. Oftentimes you want to test whether your hydrogenation was complete. You can do that by assessing the iodine value. So iodine value determines the degree of unsaturation. If you have complete hydrogenation, that means all of your double bonds have been hydrogenated, then you run iodine value, it would drop dramatically. Your iodine value would drop. This will give you an indication of how well you achieved your hydrogenation. Okay, so refining. Have you heard the term refining of oil before? Do you know what it is? You heard of it? Anybody in the room? Sophie heard of it. Regina is pointing to Sophie. She goes, I say, have you heard of it? And she goes, yeah. So what did you hear of it, Sophie?
Also, automobile industries can separate oils based on their length or side properties. In food, it also can have a refined olive oil versus extra virgin.
That's what I'm going to go. Extra virgin olive oil versus refined oil, or generally refining of the oil after crushing and removing it from the seed. So it's different from separating the oil, different oils for fuel. So what I mean here by refining is when you crush the seed, you get something we call crude oil. So we call it crude oil, but for olive oil it's special. We call it extra virgin olive oil. We don't call extra virgin corn oil. It's just for olive oil. Anyway, but that means you didn't do much to the oil after you crushed the seed. You crushed your olives or you crushed the seed. But what happens is when you crush your seeds, you get the oil and it's crude. Some of that oil has fatty acids, free fatty acids. You don't want free fatty acids in your oil because it can lead to oxidation fast. As I said, free fatty acids are more prone to oxidation than esterified ones. So they have this kind of off flavor that they're there. So refining, if you look at this is kind of a schematic of what happens to the oil after crushing. So it goes through so many different things: filtering, pressing, and crushing, extruding with a screw press, and then filtering, and then it can go to alkaline refining. That means we have fatty acids; they're acids, right? If we put NaOH there, it's a base. So NaOH is going to react with the acid. It's going to give me soap and water. and then they centrifuge. So they separate the oil from the soapy water, aqueous. So this way you remove the free fatty acid and you have refined oil. So to determine the effectiveness of refinement, you often measure free fatty acids in your oil. After refining, you determine if you still have free fatty acid or if you've gotten rid of the free fatty acid. So free fatty acid assay, which you'll do in the lab next week, before Thanksgiving. So what you'll do is you measure free fatty acids. It's an indication of refinement, and it's also indication of hydrolytic rancidity. So if they want to determine the age of the oil that has been used for frying, for example, one of the ways to determine the age of the oil is to measure free fatty acids in that oil. It's indication that the oil has been used quite some time, or the number of times the oil has been used. So it can be a measure of how the age of the oil, it can be a measure of how well we refine the oil. So we will have olive oil, extra virgin olive oil for lab on one of the oils. So it will have higher fatty acids than other oils. You'll notice that. You'll see from the data. Another step in processing of the oil is winterizing. You know what that is? Winterizing? Have you heard of this term? What does it remind you of? Winter. Reminds us of winter. So, because it reminds us of winter, what they do is they get the oil after processing and they subject it to cold temperature. At this cold temperature, waxy material crystallizes. And then they separate those crystals from the oil. Therefore, if you use the oil for salad dressing and you put it in the fridge, it doesn't turn cloudy. It remains clear. So it's part of, again, making the oil pleasant from a sensory perspective. So winterizing is one thing that they do to the oil. And then to determine whether or not they were successful in winterizing the oil and removing all of the waxy material that can crystallize, there are a couple of tests that they do. We call them cold test and cloud test. Cold point test and cloud point test. They both determine the effectiveness of winterizing. So cold point test, basically, you again subject the oil to cold temperature and determine if anything is going to crystallize. If anything crystallizes, that means during the processing of the oil, the winterizing step was not sufficient. All right, so there are a lot that you can do and test for the oil. Okay, I'm going to stop here so that I don't start a new thing. And I'll see you on Wednesday.